A male voice asks if Celia can teach him, and he will still have instincts. The girl wonders, who is this man? Suddenly, she sees his animal face. The man says that even well-trained dogs have instincts, and why shouldn't he have them? Even though this man is a man, but still his eyes burn like a beast. Celia, who is in the fox's arms, says he is wrong, and it is not true. The man inhales the scent of her hair and pulls the girl close to him. There is, or animal that is wrong in their instincts. He whispers in her ear. Do they belong to a race worse than beasts? Celia must know the truth. His breath tickles the girl's skin. She can't forget that very kiss. His lips gently touch all over the girl, and she meekly accepts his caress. The girl is embarrassed and blushes. The cunning fox asks her not to worry because he is not dangerous. The fox won't hurt the girl, but she can't just run away and help him to stay nice. Fox asks Celia to be there for him always. The girl wakes up after her dream and clutches the bed with her hands. She was shocked. The girl realizes that it was too weird dream, but still it affected her. The girl can't get what happened there out of her head. Celia asks herself who the man could have been and who addressed her in such a serious tone. Celia remembers this strange man with a surprising expression on his face. She touches her neck, where in her dream this strange man had kissed her. Now the girl can't get what happened out of her mind, and it's really suspicious. Celia looks at the cage she has in her room and sees a 9-tailed fox lying bloody. A few days before, Celia had been walking through the city in her armor, and she knew that monster bandits were becoming more and more common in their day. Nevertheless, today they had done a massive sweep. Celia wasn't easy. She's a master, so she should be able to handle something like this. It would be quiet for a while, but she wondered what this child was. Celia didn't like the common solution, so she brought this monster with her. This creature is from the Eastern continent, and it is mysterious in its own way. At some point, a strange old woman appears near the holy night and takes the cage while trying to take it away. The girl asks where this old woman could have come from. The woman says it was a mistake to leave it. Just then, the old woman waves her fingers, and a purple sprinkle appears around her hand. Celia looks closely at this enchanting magic and thinks, could this be a spell from the Eastern continent? Celia asks, could this be a female priestess from the Eastern continent? Her dark, piercing eyes look directly at Celia. The girl says she was called that at one time. The priestess asks the holy knight to sit beside her. Celia guesses that if this woman used to be called a priestess, that status has now changed. But still, why has she suddenly appeared? The priestess says that fox monsters are born with one tail, and every 100 years the number of tails increases by 1. This number indicates the magical power of the demon to whom the tails belong. However, the priestess can tell us something. The girl lifts the cloth that was thrown over the cage and sees a little fox, asleep. She asks the heroine to look at this strange creature. It's a monster fox cub with 9 tails. Celia asks, does the priestess mean it's 900 years old? But the priestess says that's not true, and she suggests that maybe this face is even older. This little fox is named Jong-ho. Celia had no way to answer that. If this fox has such a name, it's strange in its own way. The priestess tells that the 1,000-year-old demon master named Tao says that if the sky and the eastern sea become spiritual objects, it will mean heavenly glory, and for the Western continent, it's like killing a unicorn. Celia wonders if this creature is a unicorn, then should it really be released? The priestess explains that this would be a foolish decision, and although this guy was born on the womb of a spiritual being, his essence is a monster. If released, Jong-ho will mercilessly hunt the people of the Western continent. Celia realizes that it may be best to kill the dangerous monster. The priestess says that if Celia touches the divine being, she will be severely punished. Celia doesn't understand what to do, and the priestess tries to explain that Celia said she caught this fox from the bandits. Next moment, the priestess approaches Celia and takes the girl by the chin while looking at her face. The priestess asks Celia's name, and when she knows it, she explains that Celia should raise this fox until he is an adult and then take him to the Eastern continent. And that would be the best thing Celia could do for this beast, Celia asks. Does she have to take this beast to the dangerous Eastern continent? It's not an easy task. This creature can take on human form, so it is mysterious. No one knows how to properly raise such a beast for Celia. It will be a real challenge. Depending on how Celia raises it, this beast can become a heavenly angel or a real demon. The most important thing is to give this fox love so that he starts to respect people. Once the fox is on the eastern continent, it must be destroyed, because there is no other choice. If Celia wants to continue to live normally as she is now, she must follow all the necessary instructions. The girl asks the priestess if this will cause problems for the people of the eastern continent. But the priestess explains that this is not true, and she will find traces of Jong-ho, who has ascended into the sky. And then the priestess comes for Celia. The girl realizes that Celia must be the one to do it, but the priestess says that it is true that only Celia can do such a thing. The girl looks at the priestess and she explains that the fox cannot be allowed to turn into a hell spirit. The priestess tries to convince Celia to take her word for it, because this creature could be dangerous for all mankind, and it must be taken care that it dies. At home, Celia couldn't understand how a human should raise a fox cub, because it's almost an impossible task. It's too difficult, and Celia even gets a shiver in her hand, which she tries to hold back. The girl takes her trembling hand to stop it. Celia looks at this monster who is the last descendant of the great nine-tailed foxes. In the end, it has to be done, and there is no other choice, and who but Celia will save the world. After a while, the events move to the knights' training field. The holy knights of the empire train hard in order to gain the desired success. Celia commands her subordinates that this is the end of today's training, and all the guys are well done for their efforts. Celia looks happily at her fighters who are shouting, seeing how pleased their master is. They thank Celia for training them. Her subjects are the best in the world. Celia heads off alone to her lodgings. She can finally put a difficult day's work behind her. She bandaged that fox cub, and its injuries were very dangerous. The girl used the herbs the healer gave her, and Celia doesn't know if she did the right thing. All her thoughts are on the little fox. Celia realizes that since it's a monster, holy water won't help, but it might harm it. Celia is pulled out of her thoughts by a fighter who comes up to her and asks the captain, "Can I ask you a question?" Celia sees Eric in front of her and asks how she can help Eric. The man blushes a little when he sees the beautiful Celia. He was thinking, so he didn't immediately respond to her question. When Eric comes to his senses, he tells her that the cleanup operation went on until late at night, and whether Celia is practicing too hard today. The protagonist looks at the vice captain, who was worried about her. She tells him that lately there have been more missions, and the harder the training, the more valuable knights will be left alive. For the captain has realized that Celia is doing everything for the survival of her men. He's amazed at how responsible his commander is about training and saving the lives of her subordinates. The captain will keep Celia's orders in mind, and he is happy to honor any words she says. Celia sadly walks away to her fox while realizing that this is bothering her much more now. When she comes home, she sees the same monster still lying in the cage without any cheerful signs of life. The monster is still alive, but unfortunately still dangerously wounded. The condition has worsened, and Celia doesn't like what she sees. She doesn't know what will happen if the monster dies of the disease, because the priestess didn't warn about such conditions. Celia wants to ask for help, but who will listen to her because she keeps a monster in her house, although she has to fight these demons. Celia realizes it doesn't matter. It's all about saving the world. This healer priest should not ignore her, so Celia decides to show the little fox to her friend. When the priest healer sees this demon, he asks the captain, "Has Celia gone mad?" and have him remove the little fox. The girl says that it is a nine-tailed fox, and it possesses people and sucks the life energy out of them. The priestess asks Celia to get this monster away, because she wants to see this demon. She didn't think the leader would call her to cure the real monster. At that moment, the fox opens his eyes to look at the priestess. The priestess says she can't just look at it before the situation gets worse. She can see that the little fox is not well. As much as she's a healer, it's still a healer, and it doesn't matter who needs help, fox or human. Celia asks what the healer is going to do and is surprised by her sudden change of character. The healer girl says there is no difference, and the fox will die prematurely anyway, so why not take the risk? Celia realizes that the priestess Shula has started saying strange things. Celia approaches Shula and asks her to tell her exactly and why the medicine is not helping the fox. Shula hesitates and stares at the beast. The girl realizes that these are the right questions and she hadn't thought about it. At that moment, the fox opens his eyes and looks at the people that have gathered around him. Shula is a little confused by the fox's gaze. His piercing yellow eyes with cat-like pupils startled the girl. When Shula looked closely at the fox's eyes, it was as if she was floating into another world. The girl was embarrassed and red spots appeared on her face. When Celia noticed that strange things were happening to Shula, the healer tried to come to her senses and beat her cheeks to push away the obscene thoughts in her head. It must be some kind of joke since it was the fox that was able to really hit the girl. Shula thinks that maybe it was the fox that somehow influenced her brain, thereby gaining trust. Celia asks, "Does Shula really think that this fox can influence people's minds?" The girl says probably not. It just can't be. The fox is a descendant of a spiritual being, and Celia says she learned this information from a priestess from the Eastern continent. Besides, she doesn't think killing this fox would be a good idea. The healer trusts Celia, but if it was a priestess from the Western continent who said it, would Celia really believe it? And isn't that the priestess who committed the sin after the exile? The next moment, the fox wakes up and makes an interesting sound. The girls notice the fox trying to object in some way. The healer asks that the damn fox not interfere with the adults talking. Meanwhile, Celia remembers this Oriental priestess is true because this girl was expelled. But it seems the old woman's powers were still strong. This probably means that God's blessing on the name of Manhwa, god of the Eastern continent, is still in place, so her word can be trusted. The priestess says that there is still the question of why they have to raise this monster. It must be some kind of misunderstanding, because why would there be any point in keeping the fox alive? Celia says that they are the servants of Sorcerer god of the Western continent, and it is a person from the country of the Eastern continent, and they will raise the little demon for now. Is it wrong to be raised by a priestess who is said to have come from the Eastern continent? Celia recalls the words of the Eastern priestess, who said that Celia should raise this monster so that Jong-ho won't become a hell spirit. Celia inwardly realizes that she herself doesn't know why she has to do all this, and why the priestess dumped these duties on her. But on the other hand, she knows it will help the world. The priestess looks at Celia and cannot help her in any way. The girl realizes that there must be a storm in Celia's soul. The healer realizes that the position of Holy Knight Captain was given to one of the most disciplined knights in the entire empire. This person is so capable that he was chosen unanimously, and it is Celia. This person has saved many lives, and also Celia was able to protect the clergywoman from horrible monsters in the distant past. So the clergywoman owes Celia her life. She wanted to repay it, so she watched her day and night and didn't know. Whether it was normal or not, the clergywoman decided to help Celia. And today she got the chance to help Celia and was ordered to cure the monster. The healer was a very surprising person, because Shula didn't expect to have to cure a real monster in order to help Celia. The heroine apologizes to Shula if she doesn't like the idea of curing a 9-tailed fox. Shula wipes her glasses and asks that Celia give Celia the opportunity. Take a closer look at the healer's face, and she should wonder if Celia needs any more help. The heroine says that for now, she only needs to save this fox cub, and it would be good to understand what's going on with it to cure it. The clergywoman opens the cage and says she wants to take a closer look at this fox cub. She tries to calm the little fox and tells him not to worry. If she wants to hurt it, she won't do it. Celia asks the attendant to be careful. The healer says that in any case, even if she treats him, it won't be worse, and they will still treat her like crazy because she talks in her sleep. Celia realizes this is true, and Shula has been talking in her sleep ever since she was rescued from the horrible monsters. The healer says that if she has to, she'll live her whole life as a freak. When the healer examined the fox cub, she recognized it as a male. Even Celia became curious to take a look. The girls began to examine this male in more detail. But the fox didn't like the way he was treated, and so opens his toothy mouth and shows his wickedly sharp claws. The clergywoman was frightened because the fox was able to scratch her. Celia says that perhaps it was too bold to make such a claim. The clergywoman says that this monster has a very bad temperament and will be difficult to raise. Celia says it will be all right and says it will take about a year for the fox to mature. During that time, they need to show him all the warmth and care they can. The healer knows that in a year, Celia will be 24, and she has no plans to get married, because Celia is very curious about that. Celia is not interested in having a relationship. Shula asks what the captain thinks about dating. The woman replies that she is not interested in such things either. The priestess gets even more curious. Doesn't Celia feel lonely? And they say that the captain has no friends. Celia looks down sadly and says that God has given her life. And that's exactly enough to make her feel happy. Shula has never seen a stronger person than Celia, but if she continues to live like this, it will break the girl sooner or later. Shula believes that sometimes you have to open up to people because it's their nature. When Shula is done with the treatment, she can safely state that the fox will sleep for a while after the session is over. He will recover soon, and Celia doesn't have to worry because on monsters, everything heals like on real dogs. Celia thanks Shula for her help, and the girl is even a little embarrassed that the captain thanked her so warmly. Shula says that Celia looks very naive and sweet. The captain wonders, do they really think we think she's naive? The healer says the captain doesn't know who she is. Also, Shula says that this 9-tailed fox is a male, and the two of them are like fish and cat, Celia says, before she sends this fox back. First grow up, it will be easy, Shula asks. Does Celia really think that raising a 9-tailed fox is an easy task? And has Celia ever wondered what to feed this monster? This fox seduces people and sucks the life energy out of them, and you have to remember that he's a male. Celia tells him that while she's raising him and won't let him eat anyone. Shula realizes that Celia has a very childish mindset, and that naive thinking could drive Celia into a coffin. The girl is even more worried about her captain. The protagonist says that magic doesn't work on her, and she can easily handle the manipulations of this monster. Shula realizes that this is probably an assumption, and it is unlikely that Celia has tested her resistance to mental magic. Shula asks that Celia not look down on this monster, or it will hurt to fall. When the healer leaves, Celia decides to approach the face to talk to it a little. The girl notices that his breathing still hasn't recovered. Even monsters can be small and weak like this. Celia even feels a little sorry for the monster. But still, you can't do that because Celia looks at this fox and sees herself in the past when she was small, fragile, and helpless. Celia realizes that this was once true for her. The girl decides to take the fox in her arms and play with him a little. The girl starts to caress him and warm him with her warmth. This little fox is very small and soft, and it seems as if he could disappear at any moment. When he grows up, the girl will let him go without any regret. Celia feels she has no choice but to protect this little creature. So let him grow up and become strong and independent. He will train hard and become a spiritual being and get lots of love, and he will make lots of friends and meet a cute fox and fall in love. Celia has already planned out her ward's entire life. She thinks that if she can raise him to be happy and free, then maybe she won't have to kill him. Celia hopes that this small and fragile creature will be a friend to humans. She hopes that Fox can get the most out of it. Fox continued to lie lowly on the girl's lap. Celia remembers that her umbilical cord was not even cut, and they say that she was abandoned on the outskirts of the castle. The girl was found in the middle of a dense thicket. She was almost eaten by monsters, but thanks to a priest, she was taken to an orphanage. Only this man saved the girl from death. Now looking back, Celia realizes that it was an old and dilapidated nursery. It was a peaceful place, even though sometimes she had to starve. But the problem was in Celia's dream. The girl remembers it, and very well. When she slept, all the children would come from different parts of the room to watch Celia being tormented. The girl woke up all the children during her sleep because she was screaming very loudly. It was very scary for the children to watch the girl being tortured in her sleep. She was holding her stomach and screaming incredibly hard. Celia was about to become a monster again. The servants, as soon as they heard the girl crying, immediately ran into the room to help in any way they could. The adult men pushed all the children away from Celia so they wouldn't disturb them. When the boys looked at Celia's arm, they saw that there was a terrible scar on it. They spilled holy water on it curse. It was a mark on her left shoulder that created a terrible pain for its owner. The moment someone saw her sham, it changed their attitude towards her. Other children were scared and said she was a witch or a monster. Celia realized that she would be tormented by this scar for the rest of her life. The priests were talking amongst themselves and ask if they have seen this scar's reaction to the holy water. The second priest says that Celia is a cursed child, and they should be restrained from crying out like that. One of the boys says that those who mess with Celia are bound to get into trouble. The nun says that recently a child almost died, and it was a case caused because of Celia. A senior clergyman says that Celia has holy powers and that people don't realize it. Their goal is to safely raise children with holy powers and renew their holy nation. If these children can prove themselves worthy in battles for their empire, then the nation can become stronger. The conversation is completely judgment dried up by Celia. The second, completely servant, says that his partner is right and they will just send Celia to the Holy Realm. Then the merciful god Suvar will watch over the curse and can do whatever is necessary to get Celia out. But before that happens, Celia must be watched over to keep her calm. The girl remembers very well that all the children were playing and she was always standing in the corner without going near them. The girl realized that it was just as the priest said, and she was cursed. That's probably why her parents abandoned her when they saw the curse on the baby's shoulder. At one moment when Celia was thinking, a very heavy leather ball that the children were playing with flew into her head. The girl couldn't hold back a painful scream. The boys to come up to Celia ask, "Is Celia cursing them?" It's a witch, and she looked disgusted when she got the holy water. Faced with hardship, Celia looked like a squashed caterpillar. The children bullied her while wishing only harm. One of the clergymen said that Celia was given divine powers, but that doesn't mean she should be arrogant to other people. It is wrong to those around her. If Celia wants to defend her life to the end, it would be best to keep quiet. Celia realizes that she has been called a mistake and a curse all the time, and to keep her off the streets, she has been ordered to endure the pain and to pour holy water on her as soon as possible. She needed more holy water to fight against this demon, and once again she disobeyed her priests. Celia was tired from such exertion. When morning came, Celia wakes up and realizes that it's her childhood dream again, and everything has not bloomed yet. The girl, remembering her past, couldn't help herself and felt her shoulder hurting again. Curses are like pests. But still she wanted to live and needed to throw away the past to move on. Celia used the holy power given to the gods as protection. She wants to be closer to the gods and become a helper to the Holy Queen A after paladins. Celia, still alive, so her enemies will not see the girl die. Celia will live and fight. But still the girl realizes the incredible pain of the curse, which carries with it a black energy. The next morning, when it finally dawned, Celia was very tired after such a terrible night. All the time the girl had been aching from the curse, and her body was resisting the extreme pain. When the girl approached the little fox, she noticed that the beast had recovered in an instant, and by morning there was no trace of his wound. Perhaps he is even more resilient than the troll, Celia asks. The fox realizes that he has enough intelligence to understand Celia, but when the girl turned to face him, he began to hiss. The fox showed his teeth and claws. Celia realizes that the fox must be hungry, but why he shows aggression on her? She can't understand the fox's behavior. The girl asks the beast, "Is he not thirsty?" But immediately the fox calmed down and looks at the girl with intelligent eyes. The heroine lets the fox out and gives him some water to drink. Let him drink more water because he's lost a lot of blood. The next moment, the fox drinks a little water, and when he is a little full, he falls asleep immediately. Celia realizes it's just water and let the fox drink it. Just a little more. But then he starts yelling at her. Celia realizes that Shula was talking about her like the captain is insane, and it's going to be hard to just wait for them to let their guard down. Celia reaches out her hand to her face and thinks it won't hurt. She won't hurt the creature, and let it not be afraid of her. The girl understands perfectly well that it is necessary to feed the fox, and for this, she will use her kindness. The little fox obediently took to the arms of the protagonist. He looked at her with his piercing eyes. Celia tried to calm the fox to behave. The girl realizes he's a very sweet creature, and does the fox think he can be harmed? He's really incredibly handsome. The girl couldn't contain her joy. The next moment, the fox cries as if to beg Celia to let him go. The girl tells him not to worry. If he is so willing, she will let her friend go. She lets the fox out to walk around the room, but because she no longer wants to lock the fox in a cage. The next moment, the animal realizes he has a great opportunity, so he uses his powerful hindpaws for a long rush forward. The fox slips past Celia and runs free. Celia immediately catches the small and harmful beast that tried to get away from her. The fox is angry because he didn't want Celia to catch him, so he unleashes his weapon. Celia guessed that the fox was pretending to be gentle, And this was to be expected from a fox that was not in vain called a cunning animal. The fox looked at Celia very dangerously. The next moment, the beast used its teeth and claws to strike, and was able to release the girl's blood. Celia asks the fox to calm down, but unfortunately she can't. The girl looks meekly at the creature that cuts into her flesh. The fox looks oppressively at his prey. Celia offers the fox to calm down, but he continues to tear her arms apart. The next moment, the fox strikes next with his paws, and he scratches the cheek of the protagonist with his blade-sharp claws. Celia does not feel any threat from this animal, and realizes that the best solution would be to pet it. The heroine strokes the creature in her arms to calm the fox. The girl tries to whisper with sweet words that no one will harm him, and he is a very sweet and kind foxy. So she hopes that they will become friends. Celia asks that they be affectionate and quiet with each other. When the fox calms down a bit, Celia locks him in a cage and says he will be punished. Celia asks the fox if he realizes that he broke his promise and tried to run away and also bit his mistress. Tomorrow, Celia will give him another chance to make amends. The girl was all scratched and bitten. She hoped that fox would dry her off, though he could still be in that cage for the rest of his life, and the choice is his. Celia gives the fox some water to drink. That's the main thing that can be used for healing. If he won't eat anything, she's in big trouble. Doesn't the fox even want to taste the water? But still, the small and very harmful fox waves off the offer. Celia realizes that he's obviously going to be a lot of trouble. The next evening, the captain goes off to do his own thing, because work will not wait. When Celia is able to go home, she tells Eric not to worry, and she is glad that today's workday is over. Eric says the rest of the team is coming back too. Eric also says that it is a big problem for all of them, because there are more monsters every day, and if this continues, they won't be able to handle so many objects. Meanwhile, Celia was thinking about her fox because she tried, giving him water and milk and even live chickens, but he won't eat anything. It feels as if he's ignoring all food. Celia realizes that moreover, if she moved suddenly, especially when she raised her hand above the fox's head, he reacted violently and attacked the girl. Her whole arm was scratched, and Celia was hurt by this fox. So this fox has been bullied, and most likely it is used to the fact that when a person raises their hand, it is a danger. Celia thinks that the fox may have been bullied as a child. According to reports, this Alice spent about 2 months in a smuggler's store on the Western continent. But it's possible that fox was captured by people on the Eastern continent before that. Celia realizes that anger and resentment are slowly turning into action. This creature could become very dangerous if it holds a grudge against the humans. If Celia can't change this fox, then eventually she will have to kill it. Then it will be the only solution. Celia realizes she has no choice, except to rehabilitate the little fox. The girl apologizes to Eric and turns to her vice captain. She asks Eric, has he ever kept a pet? For example, a dog? Eric is very embarrassed, and he didn't expect the captain to ask questions sometimes. What had happened in Celia's life that she was so open with other people? After all, the girl had never been interested in the lives of the other members of their group before. When Eric realized that he was thinking too long, he decided to say that it was in his practice to have pets. Celia looked at the confused guy and realized that he looked very strange. Eric tells her that the dog's name is Brahms, and they were raised and trained together. It was a loyal friend and assistant vice captain's fault. He was glad that there was such a beautiful and kind animal. Eric also recalls that his faithful dog was very good at hunting and could help his masters in feeding himself. Eric wonders, however, does the captain really have a dog after all? For what reason does the girl inquire about pets? Celia looks at Eric puzzled, and then looks away and a little embarrassed and says that it doesn't matter. And she only asked Eric about the subject because Celia had a friend who was into that sort of thing. Celia turns to Eric and mentions that she would like to know whether dogs really like to be over the moon. Celia said it very seriously, but it was a very childish topic. Eric says that his favorite dog, when he's being petted, sometimes likes to hang out, and he also likes to go for walks. And his dog also loves sweet potatoes. Celia was surprised, and a thought popped into her head. Could it be that the 9-tailed one wants sweet potatoes too? I didn't think the predator was capable of eating anything plant-based. Eric got very curious and asked, "What's Celia's dog's name?" But the girl honestly says that she does not have a dog, and in general it is not important, so the conversation is over. Eric smiles and says that he understood the captain's orders. When Celia and Eric walked together, she wondered why her subordinates are smiling. Eric says that he is just glad that his captain has become much kinder. When Celia got home, as expected, Fox had not eaten again. She's tired of it and doesn't know how to get the poor fox to eat a little. She has already bought even sweet potatoes in desperation. Celia can't bear to see the poor fox starving, and she seriously tells him to finally get some food, because you can't torture your body like that. The fox shows his superiority, that he's above all these ordinary human ways. Celia realizes she has to feed this fox at least tonight. She realizes there's no choice, and as if there's no choice, the girl has to do it. She asks the fox to eat some sweet potatoes. The girl doesn't know if the fox will eat this strange plant. But when the girl saw that the fox is aggressive towards the potato, she thought of offering him a game to make the fox imagine that the sweet potato is an enemy and let him hunt his prey. Celia thinks it might be a good idea to bring the food to his mouth. Perhaps the fox will sniff it and he will want some nourishment. The girl holds out a potato in her hand, and just to give the fox a little sniff. But when the potato came as close as possible to the fox, the cunning animal stretched out its paw and tore the fruit into many pieces. Celia only felt the wet blobs of potatoes flying off right into her face. This fox is very strong, and she is glad that he has strength, because not everyone can destroy a whole potato with a small paw. Apparently, the fox has no trust in Celia and is very aggressive towards her. The girl realizes that she should try to let him out. He's all sticky, and the girl asks the animal to let her wipe him off. But when the girl takes the fox in her arms, he tries to break free and starts scratching again. Celia asks the fox to be more careful and not to scratch. But in the next moment, the fox sees the girl's face, so he decides to strike. His clawed paw goes straight for the girl's neck. Thick blood pours out in all directions, and the fox sees the blood pouring from the girl's neck straight onto his head. Celia feels that she is wasting blood very fast, so she covers her throat with her hand. The girl grabs the fox with one hand, and with the other she tries to hold back the blood that comes out of her neck. The girl tries to stop the very heavy bleeding in various ways and does so. At the same time, she does not let go of the fox's hands that she can run away. The fox remembers that when he scratched the eyes of one of the guards when he was at the smuggler's place, he was bullied and beaten by him. Fox thinks he should expect similar punishment from this girl. He's afraid. This man. From his memories, the fox shouted that he would not just let this animal go unpunished, and he would destroy the one who had caused him such pain. The fox realized that this was very dangerous, and that's when he got his injury. Fox couldn't stand up to the strong adult male. But now, Fox didn't feel any pain, and the girl he scratched by the neck didn't mind anything. She was, on the contrary, excited, and apparently too hard on this animal too. She stroked the poor fox and tried to calm him down so that he would not be afraid anymore. The fox feels guilty, as if he didn't expect to be punished for his behavior. Celia says that Fox didn't do anything wrong and it's all man's fault. Let her dear friend not blame himself for what happened, because everything. Sometimes it happens. Because people didn't know anything about monsters, they treated them like real demons, although they are quite intelligent animals who can understand humans and live a peaceful life. That's why they hurt the fox, because they didn't understand his true nature. Fox is crying because he understands what the girl is saying to him. Celia hugs her fox and apologizes because he will no longer tolerate injustice and she will protect him. Fox cried, for no one has ever shown him such care. Celia thinks that when the fox has finally calmed down, they will not hurt each other anymore, and everything will be all right. Celia sees the fox looking at her with intelligent eyes and asks him to look at the smoothness of the water. The girl shows the fox a plate of water and says that he is beautiful. If you look closely at his reflection, he is marvelous. Celia asks that Fox take at least a few sips of the water. The fox looks carefully at his mistress and sees that he hurt her terribly when he scratched her. The fox decides to agree with his mistress and takes a little sip of water. Celia was very happy that the fox finally had some water, and it was a real relief for her. She thanks the fox for his kind deed. A few days go by and Celia. As always, she carries a variety of things into her house for the fox to sniff and taste what he might like. Celia realizes that she's happy that her fox is finally obeying at least a little. If he eats the offered treats, next time she will bring him chickens and ducks. Now her pet needs to eat regularly, and she realizes that it is very important to keep him healthy. Celia enters the room and asks where her fox is. But still, Celia is surprised, because it is too quiet, and she can't understand why this is happening and if he is asleep. The girl looks at the cage and sees that her fox is lying with his head bowed. The girl gets worried and goes over to her cute pet to see what is happening to him. The girl runs and asks what's wrong, but she sees that Fox is lying in the cage and saliva is dripping from him. He looks all tired and chilly. The girl can't understand how this could have happened and why her friend has changed drastically. When Liz slept while Celia was at training, he remembered his mom. He was glad that the woman loved him for who he was, and no one thought they were monsters. Fox openly tells his mom that he missed her. Her beautiful yellow eyes were the same color as the fox's. But immediately, the fox was confronted with the horrifying sight of his mother falling to the ground with blood gushing from her mouth. The little beast doesn't know what to do, and then he hears the words of the boys nearby. They say that this child is the child of a 9-tailed fox and is a spiritual beast, and the man who is standing nearby wonders if the child will become a spiritual beast like its mother. Then it would be costly to kill the fox now, and perhaps it should wait for him to become fully formed. Then the poor fox was taken captive, and the horrible men mocked him. They said it had been a long time since such beautiful things, and then the fox was experimented on. He was forced to obey commands through pain. The fox lived in despair, and every day he had to fight from people who killed his will to live. The beast felt he didn't have to live like this, needed to break free from this fiery hell that surrounded him. The little creature felt pain, but then a girl who woke him up from a terrible dream approached him. It turns out to be the same Celia who asks her fox, "Is he having a nightmare, and is he all right?" The fox sweetly answers in his own language, which Celia doesn't understand very well. He opens his eyes and looks at the girl. Celia says that she is glad to see her friend turned out to be all right. She thought it would be very bad now, but she saw that he was able to recover quickly from his bad dream, and she thinks that her friend is good. The girl takes the fox in her arms to warm him with her touch. The girl won't let go of her friend. Immediately, the fox sniffs this girl and smells the odor of sweat and dirt, and that's exactly what his mother smelled like back then. The fox realized this, and a picture of his mother appeared in his mind. The girl says that soon the fox will be able to grow up and tell who caused him this terrible pain, because of which the fox suffers at night. The girl says that she will punish everyone who hurt her friend. Celia will not abandon her fox. Celia decides to do some cooking to make the fox dinner. She realizes that after a little talk with Eric, the guy told her that before serving the fox, the potatoes need to be cooked. Now, Celia has realized her mistake and sets about making the delicious sweet potatoes. Celia turns to her friend who is lying on a pillow watching the kitchen. Celia says she has thought of a name for her fox and asks if her friend wants to know it. She can say the name now, and when she sees the fox, the name immediately comes to mind. The girl says the name that fits him best is Ran. The fox looks at the girl and realizes that Ran is now his name, and it is deep in his heart and soul. The man and the monster met eyes. Now they understood each other perfectly, and their feelings were quite clear. Fox recalls his conversations with his mother, and she told her child that someday Fox will be able to find a man who will recognize his name, and then Fox wondered how to understand whether it was an accident or not, if it could really happen. But Mom said that Fox can figure out when it happens, and his soul will tell him the way. Celia asks Ran how he feels about his new name, because she wonders if Celia has offended her friend. But Ran tried to feel the name, and he thought about the word for a while and realized that his soul was right, and it was the name that Fox wanted. Celia says that the girl can't help but be pleased when they think of Ran with a name like that. Ran realizes that it's just a coincidence and couldn't have come from a human. All people are enemies, and how could he trust someone? Ran turns away from Celia, showing his temper. Celia wonders, did Ran get upset? When the potatoes were cooked, Celia was very happy. At this time, Ran was thinking that this person is very strange if you think about it. This girl from the beginning is very strange, and she immediately chose Ran even though there were other monsters. How did the girl know that Ran was different from the others? Celia should have been an ordinary person, but why was she able to recognize Ran? At this moment, Celia decided to taste some sweet potatoes to see if they were finely cooked. Ran inhales the wonderful aroma of the cooked sweet potatoes. But then Celia sees her friend's interested look, so she decides not to waste the moment, and with a lightning-fast movement, pushes the delicious sweet potatoes to be cooked into his mouth. Ran realizes that this girl is a very crazy woman and will be very difficult to cohabit with. But still, when Ran lived the sweet potatoes for a while, he realized that he had never tasted a tastier dish. Celia immediately pleased her friend, said that she cooked a lot of sweet potatoes, so she asked her friend to eat as much as he wanted without denying himself the pleasure. The fox immediately attacked the sweet potatoes and began to eat them greedily. The little monster couldn't be happy that he was lucky enough to get so much delicious food. Meanwhile, Celia looks at her ward. She didn't know what foxes usually eat, and she is still surprised by the beauty of her beast. The fox is especially beautiful when eating sweet potatoes. He is very cute at the moment of eating with your portion of sweet potatoes. Celia notices that her pet has golden eyes and a very fluffy tail, and she realizes that this cute animal makes her heart beat more often. She cuddles the cute little fox and kisses him on the forehead. Celia says that from now on her little fox will be called Ran and hopes that her pet will adopt a similar name. Fox felt the girl's warmth and was very embarrassed by her sincerity. Celia looked intently into her ward's eyes. She still thinks her fox is a real cutie and handsome. He couldn't understand what that feeling was. He couldn't understand what kind of person this girl was and why she was showing so much warmth and care for him. But when Celia kissed the fox one more time, he couldn't contain his anger anymore. Celia asks, "Is there something her little fox doesn't like?" trying to calm her friend down. A few days go by and Celia realizes that the fox now responds to her name when she calls him. But Ran had become more aggressive than he was before. The girl was covered in band-aids to hide her cuts. But still, there is a positive thought that the fox now eats everything the girl offers him, and maybe because of the fear that the fox is not yet over, he keeps scratching. Eric meets his captain but is immediately shocked to see the girl scratched, and it was strange. Eric asks the captain, "Has she been hurt again? And what happened to her in the last few days?" Celia tells Eric that there is no reason to worry, and everything is under control, so don't let the man worry, Anne. But Eric didn't want to leave it at that, and says that even if Celia doesn't like him, there's nothing he can do about it, and the other guys are worried about their best captain too. Maybe Celia should see a healer. But the girl says it's a minor wound and no problem, so there's no need to worry too much about these little cuts. Eric clenches his fists and apologizes to the captain. He orders his loyal friends to get the captain and get her to the infirmary quickly. They apologize to their captain. After all, she must realize that her knights are only doing this because she is worried about Celia. Eric says they will take Celia to the treatment center. When the knights take their captain, they are surprised that the girl is behaving very calmly. One of the knights, who was carrying Celia under her arm, accidentally bumped into a rock and fell to the ground. But Celia was able to catch the falling boy and prevent him from falling. Celia asks her subordinate if he is okay. At this moment, Celia looked very romantic. This struck her subordinate to the core. The knight blushed with embarrassment and thanked his captain, sincerely glad that such a beautiful girl saved him. Celia met with the healer, Shula. The girl looked displeased at the captain, who was covered in cuts. She asks, "Did the nine-tailed fox do it? And how long will Celia put up with this little scoundrel that mocks her poor body?" Shula asks the captain why she's taking things to such an extreme. But Celia says that the wounds aren't that important, and the most important thing is that the fox change. Shula tries to explain that this is a very serious body, and Celia must be hurting from all those cuts, and why Celia didn't come to Shula right away. And next time down, the girl will listen to the knights and come straight to the healing center. Shula tells Celia to show that rotten fox who's boss, and for them to stop this war. Celia smiles and thanks the healer for Shula helping her after all. The girl was embarrassed by the captain's sincere smile and couldn't hold back her sincere feelings, because Celia is a very nice girl. Even though she is angry, she is still very sweetly embarrassed. Shula asks that perhaps the captain has decided to raise the fox, and she wonders what countermeasures Celia will use against the creature. Celia says that the fox has become particularly aggressive these days. The girl remembers that it is very difficult to get the fox to be a little more peaceful, and they have a real fight without rules. Celia pays special attention to Rand's upbringing. Shula asks, "Has Celia really decided to raise Fox as a real person? And it's amazing." Celia tries to hide her embarrassment from the gaze of Shula's healer. After a while, the girl in the pet store was happy to see a new customer in her store. She welcomed the new guests. But immediately the girl was surprised to see that a holy knight wished to see her. The shopkeeper tells Celia that the knight must have mixed up the store and came to the wrong place. But Celia didn't answer anything and approached the girl, who asked what Celia wanted to see. The girl asked if their store had shampoo. The girl at the store asked what kind of animal Celia wanted the shampoo for and if it was a puppy. Celia says it is, and she wants to bathe her dog. Celia won't admit that she has a little fox. The girl asks if the shampoo she suggested would work for Night. It's a gorgeous vial that's scented with rose, and it's very popular among aristocrats. This shampoo will make the Knight's pet smell incredible. But Celia smelled the scent of this shampoo a little bit and said that this shampoo smells too strong, and her pet has a very good charm, so this shampoo is not suitable for her doggy. If the odor is strong, the fox will not feel well. The seller in the store shows Celia the following product and asks what the girl thinks about this shampoo because it has no odor and is very mild for the coat because it rinses off quickly. Celia did not hesitate and said that she would take this shampoo. She was also interested in other products of the store. After a while, she bought a lot of different pet care products and soft toys. Celia asked the salesperson to count all her purchases. The salesman saw the number of purchases. Celia was happy that probably the knight loves his animal very much. Celia says that it is not really love, but a simple necessity. The vendor smiles and asks Celia to wait a bit, and since she has bought a lot of their store's products, she is given a gift. Celia thanked for one more item from their store, so she left the many purchases. The girl in the store was happy as a flower and asked Celia to come to them again because she would be very happy to see such a good customer. Celia went to her house, and when she had brought all the things she needed, she asked where Ran was. When Celia entered the room, she saw Ran sleeping. The knight asks if the fox missed her. The girl looked at Ran and saw that on his paws black marks from the fire. The girl asks, "Did the fox try to leave the house while she was away?" And Celia told Ran not to touch the barrier because it would hurt her pet. The barrier was put up in case the fox tried to escape, but luckily Ran is not hurt too badly. The beast continues to gnaw at Celia's flesh, showing his disagreement with the girl keeping him locked up. Celia says that everything is fine, and she just wanted to see if her pet was hurt too badly. At this moment, Ran reflected that even from his bite, Celia didn't move. This is a very strange man indeed. Ran realized that since that day. As he was named Ran, every time he saw this person, the fox's heart was pounding very hard. It was so strange feelings that he tried to immediately push them away. In just a few days, the girl's body was covered with wounds from his bites and scratches. The fox licked the new wound he had inflicted on the girl. Ran goes into Celia's arms and says that for some reason, he doesn't want to hurt this man anymore. He can't figure out his feelings himself. Celia happily caresses her pet, who turned out to be very kind to her, and the place to hurt her too. Celia cuddles her Ran, but the fox is not very happy about such caresses. Celia also says that she has something for Ran and gives him a gift for all this time. While the girl is at work, Ran feels lonely, and she thought that a toy like this would help Ran to be happy while Celia is doing her nightly work. Celia bought this plush toy for Ran so he wouldn't be bored alone. The sly fox looks at the offered object carefully. When the girl brought the plush toy closer to the fox, she did not expect that the fox would go crazy. The animal began to tear the proposed toy into pieces, thereby destroying the teddy bear. Celia watched what was happening and realized that she should have bought something stronger, because for her very aggressive pet, such a toy was too easy. Celia tells Ran that she has bought him everything he needs, and there is even a large assortment of different gels and shampoos. Ran looked at what was happening with disbelief, and he did not want to obey his mistress. But Celia tries to convince her pet to take a bath, which is necessary for any good and self-respecting pet who doesn't want to stink up the room. Celia asks Ran to look at the offered duck, because it is the perfect duck to bathe with in the warm and frothy water. The fox was obviously not pleased, and Ran was angry with his mistress. The fox was mad because he didn't like the way Celia treated him as if he were a small child. Celia realizes that it seems that the duck did not help to relax the beast, and she proposes to finish the bath quickly so as not to torture Ran. The girl was busy giving the fox a good soaping and thus creating a lot of lather. It can't be helped. And if she doesn't wash the fox, she will catch something and get sick, and she apologizes because she will finish soon. The next moment, the fox very quickly breaks out of Celia's hands and tries to run away. Celia tells Ran to wash off the foam and not to just leave it on his fur. But Ran doesn't listen to Celia, so he slips and falls. As Ran fell, his little body hit a cabinet. About the closet, which could not withstand such abuse, so he fell down. But immediately Celia ran up, who was able to save her faithful pet, and she did not let the heavy closet to fall on the fox. The heroine sacrificed her back for the fox. The beast saw how his mistress protected the fox at the cost of her health and sacrificed her back to protect him. Celia says that she is fine and she is doing fine, but inside herself the girl realizes that her forearm hurts a lot. The girl picks up the closet and is curious to see if Liz is okay. Ran quietly makes his natural noises to show that he is feeling fine, and the mistress should not worry about him, but worry about herself first. Celia says it's all right. The fox is very slippery now, and she has to go and rinse him with water so that he doesn't suffer anymore and doesn't slip and fall by accident. The girl hugs her pet and says that he is a good boy. Fox felt his guilt, and after the bath was shivering very much because the water was cool. But the girl did not torture her pet and immediately wiped him with a towel to warm him up. Celia tries to understand why it happens to him, and apparently it is not because of the cold water. The girl says that he shouldn't feel guilty and everything is fine. Celia offers Fox some food. The girl sees Fox looking at her carefully, and she guesses that he must be worried about her. The girl sees that a wound has formed on her leg after she saved the fox from the falling closet. At that moment, Ron remembers her mother's words, and she said that when her son meets someone who calls his name, let Ran treat him with respect, and he must protect that person. Ran remembered his mother's words and looked at Celia, who had called his name. He saw the girl examining her injured leg, and she hurt herself because of Ran's bad behavior. The fox recalls his mother telling him not to miss his man. As night fell, Ran wondered what was going on. He continued to warm himself under the towel and wondered why his mom had said that about the human. At that moment, Celia comes over and says she brought something interesting for his face. Ron is surprised, as if his mom knew everything that would happen to him in the future. The girl approaches her pet and offers to eat some horse meat jerky. The fox looks at the offered treats and Celia asks, "Does her sweet Ran not like the treats?" Celia had heard from the clerk that it was the best meat they had in the store, and she would spare no expense for her pet. The fox immediately jumps up from his seat and tosses the towels aside. Celia's pet headed towards her injured leg. Before the girl could be surprised, Ran began to gently lick the girl's wound, which she received because of her pet's bad behavior. Celia didn't quite understand the fox's intentions and immediately lifted him up and angrily said that Ran was forbidden to eat humans. Surprised, Ran couldn't understand why his mistress thought he was going to eat her. Celia says that humans should not be the diet of a respectful spirit. People will be hurt if he eats them. So Celia forbids Ran from eating humans. Celia asks perhaps Ran doesn't gain enough energy eating regular meat. But the fox pretends to be sickened by Celia's words. The girl hugs her mate and thinks that Fox was really hungry after taking a bath and relaxed a lot. Good thing she realized that. And then she suggests Liz to go and eat normally. Celia realizes that her leg still hurts and would need some rest, but still she needs to take care of her pet first. The fox tried to say something to Celia and explained that first of all, the girl should take care of her leg and then think about the food of her pet. But unfortunately, the fox continued to talk with his animal language, and Celia did not understand his speech at all. The girl says that they can eat together, and she does not pay attention to the pain in her leg. Celia tells the fox that he can choose anything and for possible treats. Ron realizes that this strange man is incorrigible. Celia suggests that Ran eat the chicken instead of the man. If the fox needs live blood, she has just recently purchased a live chicken. Ran was surprised by the behavior of his mistress and could not hide his irritation because he does not need a live chicken. At this time, the strange man stood in his palace and looked at the window. The frost was drawing various patterns on the glass. The man was saying out loud that a 9-tailed fox was probably born, and if Celia recognizes it, then the 9-tailed fox is really a monster with devilish powers. The man believes it was the right decision not to kill the beast. the man realizes that Celia was that child, and she has already lived for 23 years, a very impressive result. It's a shame that Celia is trying so hard to survive, and no matter how hard this child tries, Celia will die in the end. The great magician opens his mirror and uses his spell to see what he thinks Celia is doing now. Just then, he saw the moment when the girl was chatting with her fox. The man is surprised because Celia became a holy knight to survive, and he thinks that this poor child has been through too many horrors in life to be able to breathe now. Now, Fox is together with Celia, feeling better than ever, and not too harsh and their future fate. For man is the question of how these people will cope with the future obstacles that await them. Suddenly, the spiritual being looked at the place from where the wizard was peeking at them. The great wizard noticed the gaze of the spirit being, who realized that they were being watched. The next moment, Lys attacked with his magic and thus shattered the mirror where the wizard was peeping. The next moment, the glass shatters in all directions and a great magical force spreads through the room. The wizard realizes that the magical power of this fox is too strong. It will be very difficult to fight such an opponent. And did he really manage to notice his presence? It's understandable. And anyway, once the fox is old enough, the only thing left to do is kill it. Celia will raise this fox well, and it will also become her spirit animal. The bigger the fox gets, the more it annoys the wizard. The man asks himself if their lives are not torturous. When Celia dies, it will be easier for everyone, although it sounds a bit silly. The sorcerer asks fate to give Celia the death he is waiting for. When Celia dies, the sorcerer will send her with the sunlight to a day of blooming, and so let her take care of her miserable life now so she can. Something to pass on to her future generations. The great magician turns to Celia, saying that she is going to die and should know about it. He is not going to just stop and make destiny a reality. Meanwhile, the heroine is studying books. They are very interesting, because starting from the 10th year, Fox can take the form of a human, and in the 20th year he will become an adult. Ron said that he will become an adult in a year, so now he is 19 years old, but why he does not turn into a human? It's a mystery to Celia. It's been a long time since they've lived together, but Celia has never seen Ran as a human, and yet Fox is a monster. Maybe the nine-tailed fox is different and is a special animal. The girl realizes that this fox is much more mysterious than she thought. Nine-tailed foxes have a special trait of having one wish and being obsessed with one companion for the rest of their lives, so when dealing with him, it is better not to touch what belongs to these creatures. If you accidentally hurt or touch the fox itself, death will not be avoided. The companion of the nine-tailed fox is a very interesting thing. Quite a complex creature, it is surprising. Most monsters have a thread of companion concepts. Celia wonders if these monsters are special. So these monsters are 1 in 1,000. And will the fox live alone until he meets his mate, for example? A cute little fox. But what if Fox dies before his time? Celia asks Ran if he understands. Women are not as weak as they seem, and Ran must choose a healthy, strong, and better female. Celia explains that then he can live a good and long life. Celia says that Ron is very strong, but he should look for the best submissive companion because Ran's character is not very good and the girl must obey him or she will get hurt. Also, she should be reasonable because Ran is not a stupid monster. Alice yawns, bored with Celia's nonsense. The girl says he needs to stop acting like a little kid and asks Fox to look at what is written in the book. Celia shows him that it says that nine-tailed foxes have only one companion for the rest of their lives. Therefore, Ron must understand this well and approach his choice very qualitatively. It's instincts. And even if Ron doesn't want one, there will come a time when he will meet her. So Lys must choose carefully, and it must be a good companion. Just then, Ran licks Celia's hands. The girl lifts or he as his arms and says that otherwise it will not work out if he is afraid to choose a companion then. Let him turn to her for help, and Celia will take care of his decision. The girl is not going to just give the fox to the hard life. At some point, Shula bursts in and tells the captain that she is here. The doors open and Shula catches her captain caressing the fox. Celia thanks Shula for having the girl come to her. The clergywoman says no thanks are due, and she did it of her own volition. Celia says she wanted to consult about the fox's health. The girl strokes her pet, which rumbles sweetly under her hands. Celia realizes that the real reason so far is why she decided to invite Shula. It's because the girl doesn't know why the fox doesn't turn into a human. The priestess tells the captain that, isn't the girl afraid to just hold a 9-tailed fox in her arms? Celia says it's not scary at all, and has become very docile. The priestess says that anyway, Celia always carries this rice with her, and is it really true? But the girl tells her doctor that you don't need to worry so much, and everything is under control. Shula looks at the suspicious fox and she wonders, isn't this kind of behavior dangerous, even a little dozing in the arms of his mistress? Celia says that this is very suspicious behavior for a monster, and Celia should not let her guard down because, after all, Ran is a male. Shula tells the captain that at some point Fox will be able to attack Celia and that this is dangerous. Fox meets Shula's eyes, and Ran realizes that this girl is very strange and annoys him. Celia offers to eat since it's lunchtime. Meanwhile, Celia tells Ran that his chicken is coming soon and it is very high quality and big. But Ran looks very suspiciously at the clergywoman sitting across from him, who is even frightened by the stare. Celia tells Ran that she is taking her pet into the room, and the fox likes to eat alone so she doesn't want the guests to disturb Ran. Ran is in the room destroying the chicken and absorbing its spiritual power. The fox realizes his power is still weak. If this continues, he won't mature in a year. Just like when people hated him, Fox didn't want to grow up so much. But why would Ron want to grow up now? Ron remembers that sometimes his mistress Celia smells pain. He has watched the girl suffer, and at such times Celia won't let him into the room to fix herself all alone. Wound at such times wants to absorb that smell of pain. He can feel everything that comes from Celia's body, and it's very clear to him. Ran thinks he needs to become stronger to protect Celia. When he grows up, he can turn into a human. Then he will be able to support his master. Shula, meanwhile, brought up the subject. That she forgot and left the herbs in her healing center. Celia asks, is it really that important now? Shula tells her that if she doesn't pulverize the drying herbs, they will go bad tomorrow. Celia says she can get herbs for Shula. The attendant wonders, is Celia going to leave that fox alone and let her not be silly? Celia asks if she is faster than the clergywoman and asks that Shula wait a bit. Shula says she doesn't know if everything will be okay since the girl will be alone with the fox. Celia says she'll be back soon, and Shula wasn't thrilled with the idea. The fox looked at Shula and realized that if he ate the man's energy, he could take him out quickly. Ran listened carefully to the footsteps of Celia walking away. Shula sat down on the chair and realized that she felt guilty now because it was her job to deal with the herbs, but she was surprised that Ran was there with her. Shula used her magic to threaten the little fox who shouldn't attack her. At this, Ran used all his cuteness to lower Shula's guard. The girl felt that he looked really cute as well. The girl approaches the little fox herself and wonders how such a cute creature can be a monster, and clearly someone messed up the classification. The girl asks that Ran let her touch his fur, but at some point Celia appears in the doorway and sternly tells Ran to stop doing that. Celia's words hit like a thunderclap. The girl looked very unkindly at her pet, who dared to do such a bad thing, or behind the healer. At that moment, Shula tried to understand what was going on and couldn't believe herself that she could have succumbed to the fox's charms. Celia says that Shula seems to have a headache, and it seems like it would be better for her to rest today. Shula asks, does the captain really think so, since she hasn't gotten a good look at the fox yet? Celia says it's okay and to let Shula go and get some rest. Celia realizes that this is a very sad situation. The fox tried to devour the human, and Celia felt it. Ron felt guilty in front of Celia. She is always very kind, and for the first time, Celia reacted coldly to his words. Celia approaches the fox, and very serious, saying that if he hurts an innocent person, then she will have to kill her pet. Celia is very serious. Tell Rana that if he wants to stop her, he will have to kill Celia before she kills him. Shula has come to check on Ran's condition, and the fox must understand. He's no ordinary spirit monster. Now Celia is trying to make sure Ran doesn't have to endure any more pain and starvation, and she asks Ran, does the fox really want to kill or be killed rule between their relationship? Does Ran really want that? They continued to socialize like this. The fox gets down from the couch and walks over to his mistress to rub against her leg a bit. The little foxy was very cute. Celia asks if Ran can think the words through as well. The girl takes her ward in her arms and hugs Ran, telling him not to do such bad things again. At that moment, Ran realized that he will not be able to hurt any more innocent people because Celia asked him to. When the girl came home after another training session with the knights, she asked where her beloved Ran was. When Fox showed up, he made his joyful noises. Celia says that she is also very happy to see Ran and says that they can play together in peace. The girl takes out a toy she bought at the pet store and starts having fun with her pet. At some point, Ran clumsily falls to the ground and the girl realizes that the fox's body is closer to a dog's and the tent's to a cat's. And it's true because the fox is very clumsy, though he likes to play with cat's toys. After the incident when the fox tried to eat Shula, their relationship became more strained. Celia says she brought another juicy chicken today. Celia says his growing body needs a lot of food. And does Ran refuse? What is she going to do with this chicken now? Fox looks at the chicken with annoyance. What's yelling? Celia suggests that Ran should hurry up and eat it. The next moment, Alice breaks the cage and thus freeing the chicken that was standing in it. Celia asks what Ran is doing and who allowed him to knock over the bowl of food. Ran shouts at the girl in displeasure. The next moment, the chicken jumped on Celia and attacked her hair with its fangs. When the girl saw what happened to her hair, she asks the fox, "Isn't it funny what's going on?" Celia says that she had a hard time catching the whole animal and keeping it alive. She doesn't understand why her fox is so mean and she can't stop feeding her pet. And if Ran continues to be so rude, he won't get any more food because Celia is constantly searching for food for her fox. But he ignores her efforts. Ran shows his rudeness and turns away from his mistress. The girl intimidates her pet and says she won't give him anything until he apologizes. Celia tells Shula that since they had a fight, Fox has been starving for 3 days, and in that case, they can cause a lot of problems for the small animal. Shula says that the captain shouldn't worry, and no nine-tailed is going to die just from starvation. Celia says that her pet looks too lethargic. This has never happened before, and she doesn't understand why it's suddenly happening. Maybe the fox is depressed. Her pet's been cooped up all this time, but he was originally supposed to be in the fox. Celia realizes that's right, and it's possible that there's not enough space for her pet, and maybe it needs some walking. And the barrier needs to be extended beyond the house. Shula says that although Celia will need quite a bit of holy power, will it be okay if Liz walks much farther than the house? The Holy Knight says there shouldn't be a problem, and they'll be fine at all. But inside herself realizes that overusing holy power may increase the pain, but she won't be able to leave Ran with his depression. Shula sees that Celia is hesitant, and she moves much closer to her friend and asks if the captain is sure of his powers. Celia wonders if there is something she wants to ask her specifically. Shula says no, and she's just worried about her captain. When Celia finished expanding the barrier at home, she felt her spirit channels getting tired. The girl calls her pet and says she has a pet to talk to. There is a conversation. The girl sees that Ran continues to ignore her, and she takes his paw in greeting. Celia asks, "Does Ran continue to be mad at her?" Celia asks Ran to talk to her for a while, but then the girl notices that her pet's fur is a little tangled and he looks really cute. Celia asks for Ran to look at her for a bit. When Celia picks up her pet, he bites her a little bit to show his displeasure. The girl says there is something she wanted to tell her friend. She asks Ran to look at her, but flattery is very harmful. Celia suggests that he should do it just once and still confide in his mistress. Fox does look at her, and Celia suggests that they finally make up. Celia says maybe for the face. That food wouldn't seem good enough, but she's been wandering Liz for a very long time because she wants to feed her pet the best she could offer for him. Celia says she doesn't think she realized how much Ran was worried about being stuck in the house and having to eat the same things. Celia has prepared a gift as an apology. Celia asks that Ran look at the beautiful forest, and from me, Ran can walk freely in this Liz and spend his time. Celia comes out her pet's behavior and wonders that maybe he didn't really like what she offered. The heroine says that you can't go to the dense forest. After all, there begins a barrier. But here is still better than just sitting at home and let the fox is not shy and runs and hunts in this little fox. The fox is very wary of the surrounding area and is afraid to take the first step away from home. Celia says that he has not been able to eat his usual food for a long time, so she has prepared bear for him. Celia says that she wishes Ran a good appetite and shows under the cage a sleeping big monster that was lying at the bottom of the cage. The heroine asks that Fox eat enough and come home on time, and it can get a little dangerous later. Celia says goodbye to her friend and tells Fox to have a good time. The girl hopes that her pet will like what she did to him, but at some point the girl hears someone knocking on the door and she decides to open it to see. It turns out that it was a fox that comes in, made them see into the room. Celia wonders, doesn't Ran want to play fox? But when the fox came into the room, he just lay down on a pillow and apparently he wants to get some rest. A few days later, Ran comes back from the forest early enough and Celia wonders, doesn't Ran really enjoy walking? Celia wonders about her pet's behavior because there are so many interesting things going on in Liss. Celia looked carefully at her pet and guessed that maybe her fox is afraid to spend time alone and is attached to Celia. The girl decided to move to the grass near the house so that the fox could see that his mistress was near. Ran went for a walk in the forest while Celia was by his side the whole time. Ran came back to Celia and put his little paw on her. Celia asks, did her little friend decide to see if she was still there? The girl asks, does Ran want to play some more or can they go inside? When Celia watched her pet for a while, she discovered that Ran likes the outdoors a lot, but he can't stay in one place for long. Probably. That's because he's spent so much of his life locked up. Celia wonders what happened to Ran's mother, who was kind of called the Celestial Fox.